610 CE, the Arabian Peninsula, Mecca. At the crossroads of the great trade routes, this city was also a center of belief and tradition. The Kaaba stood surrounded by idols. Each tribe turned towards symbols representing its own faith, while society carried on within deeply rooted customs. A daughter was seen as a disgrace from the day she was born. A slave was the property of his master. Justice was measured by the strength of one's tribe. This era is described in Islamic sources as the Age of Ignorance, a time marked not only by a lack of knowledge, but by social injustice, moral decay, and the rule of the strong over the weak. And it was in such an age, in the Cave of Hira to the northeast of Mecca, that an event took place which would change the course of history. This was not merely the experience of one man. It was one of the greatest turning points in human history. And that event began with a single word: read. In the 7th century, Arabia was a land largely overlooked by the great empires. To the west stood Byzantium, to the east the Sasanian Empire. Both were consumed by their struggle against one another. Arabia, meanwhile, remained a peninsula caught in between, left largely to itself. And yet, within its own world, this land was far from lifeless. Mecca stood as a vital stop along the great trade caravans. Routes stretching north from Yemen and south from Syria passed through the city. Its leading families had built immense wealth through this commerce. The Quraysh tribe held both the economic and religious authority of Mecca, and the Kaaba was the heart of that authority. Believed to have been built by Prophet Abraham, this sanctuary had over time become a stronghold of idolatry. More than 360 idols stood within and around it. Every tribe had its own idol, its own rituals, its own traditions. This also gave Mecca a powerful economic advantage. Idolatry was no longer simply a matter of belief. It had become part of an established economic order. The social structure was equally harsh. Tribal loyalty stood above all else. Who your father was, which tribe you came from, these questions defined your worth. One without a tribe had no protection. A stranger was defenseless. A slave was scarcely regarded as human. Women could not inherit. Marriage was often little more than an arrangement or a transaction. In some tribes, baby girls were buried alive. This practice was known as wad. They were buried without hesitation, simply because they were seen as a source of shame. Blood feuds were carried from one generation to the next. The price of a single killing could be a war that lasted 10 years. The strong believed every right belonged to them. The weak had no voice. This was the age Islamic sources would call the Age of Ignorance, and in the very center of that world there was a man from the tribe of Banu Hashim. Muhammad ibn Abdullah was born in Mecca in 571 CE. His life began with loss. His father, Abdullah, had died before he was born. His mother, Amina, passed away when Muhammad was 6 years old. His grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib, then took him into his care, but he too died 2 years later. After that, Muhammad came under the protection of his uncle, Abu Talib. From an early age, he worked as a shepherd. In Arab society at the time, this was not an unusual beginning. Years spent among animals, the desert, and silence. Years that gave him ample time to think, to observe, and to reflect. Later, he joined trade caravans and traveled north to Syria. There, he encountered different cultures and different faiths. He saw Christians, he saw Jews, he saw pagan communities. The world was far larger than Mecca, and throughout all of this, the people around him recognized one thing. This man never lied. He never deceived anyone. He never betrayed a trust. If he gave his word, he kept it. He was not someone who remained silent in the face of injustice. Because of these qualities, the people of Mecca gave him a title, Al-Amin, the trustworthy. At the age of 25, he married Khadija, one of Mecca's respected and successful businesswomen. It was Khadija herself who proposed the marriage, out of admiration for his character. There was an age difference between them. Khadija was 40, but their marriage was built on deep harmony and mutual respect. His home was peaceful. He had children. He did not suffer from material hardship, and yet a growing unrest was taking shape within him. What he saw around him disturbed him deeply. A society bowing before idols, fathers burying their daughters, masters tormenting their slaves, the powerful crushing the weak. To remain a silent witness to all of this was against his very nature. But what could he do? He did not yet have the answer. To the northeast of Mecca, about 5 kilometers from the center of the city, rises a steep mountain known as Jabal al-Nur, the Mountain of Light. Near its summit lies a small cave, Hira. It is only wide enough for a single person to stand, large enough for someone to lie down. And yet this narrow space held a remarkable feature. From there, the Kaaba could be seen. Even as the Prophet withdrew from the noise of the world, he did not wish to be cut off from the house of Allah. Islamic scholars emphasize that this was no coincidence. According to the narration of Aisha, Muhammad had begun retreating regularly to this cave, especially from the age of 35. Each year, he would spend the month of Ramadan there. Khadija would prepare provisions for him, and when his food ran out, he would return, take fresh supplies, and go back to the cave once again. This was not a habit, it was a need of the soul. And in those days, something began to happen. The dreams he saw came true exactly as he had seen them, every time, without fail. Islamic scholars describe this period as the first signs preceding prophethood. Aisha portrayed these dreams as being as clear and radiant as the light of dawn. It is also narrated that at times he heard voices while walking. Trees and stones were calling out to him, "Peace be upon you, O Messenger of Allah." He would look around but see no one. These voices did not fill him with fear, but they did leave him in a state of wonder. Those years in Hira were years of reflection, searching, and waiting, and the answer came at exactly the appointed time, 610 CE, the night of the 26th of Ramadan, leading into the 27th. Muhammad was in the Cave of Hira. He was 40 years old, and on that night, everything changed. According to the narration reported by Aisha in Sahih al-Bukhari, a presence came to the cave that night. It was Gabriel, the angel of revelation. He spoke a single word, "Iqra," read. Muhammad trembled, and he replied, "I do not know how to read." This response is deeply significant. Muhammad was truly unlettered. He did not know how to read or write. Allah was sending down his book to his final messenger, not through what a man had learned, but through divine revelation. Then Gabriel embraced him and held him tightly, so tightly that he could hardly breathe. Then he released him and asked again, "Iqra." The same answer came, "I do not know how to read." Once again, he embraced him. Once again, he pressed him tightly. Once again, he released him. And for the third time, he said, "Iqra." And this time, the words came. They poured from his lips. "Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging clot. Read, for your Lord is most generous, the one who taught by the pen, taught man what he did not know." 5 verses. The very first command given to a man who could not read was, read. The first message sent to a society unfamiliar with the pen was a declaration of the importance of knowledge and writing. This was not merely a religious command. It was the founding proclamation of a civilization. Under the crushing weight of that moment, Muhammad left the cave. His heart was trembling. His body was shaking. He knew the path, but his steps were unsteady. According to Ibn Hisham and other early biographical sources, even the trees and stones he passed offered him greetings of peace, but he was in no state to take it in. He reached his home. Khadija met him at the door. She looked into his face. Something in that look had changed. It was as though the man who had returned was no longer the same as the one who had left. Muhammad could only say, "Cover me, cover me." Khadija asked no questions. She brought a cloak and wrapped her husband in it. Then she waited for the trembling to subside. After that, Muhammad told her what had happened. Everything. The cave, the presence, the embrace, the words, and then he added, "I feared for myself." Islamic scholars have treated this fear with great care. It was not the fear of weakened faith, but the natural awe that comes with encountering the divine. In Sunni tradition, this feeling is often compared to the trembling experienced by Moses on Mount Sinai. Every prophet felt the weight of revelation within the limits of human nature. Khadija listened to her husband. Then she rose and spoke. "No, by Allah, he will never disgrace you. You keep ties of kinship. You carry the burden of those who cannot bear it themselves. You give to the poor, you honor your guests, and you stand beside those who suffer in the cause of truth." These words were the essence of 25 years of life together. Khadija knew her husband so well that she felt, without the slightest hesitation, that what had happened could not be evil. A man so truthful, so noble, so compassionate could never be abandoned by Allah. And that night, Khadija became the first believer in Islam.